Hi, I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, here with John and Hope Holloway from Dark Princess Theater. And I actually saw some of your stuff yesterday, and you guys are like jacks of all trades. You do the podcast, you do ghost tours locally here in Chattanooga.
Yes, I'm a tour guide with Amy Petula. She owns the Chattanooga Ghost Tours, and I'm one of her guides there and do tours and hunts for her. And then we run the Dark Princess Theater, our comedy horror show, with the podcast and the live theater, and we put on a ball every February as well.
Okay, I want to hear about this Dark Princess Theater. Now, I personally saw I guess we could call it a preview show last night during some of the entertainment here at Chattanooga, and that was new. That was something unique that I'd never seen before.
We are unique. I can tell you that.
Now you play the character of a Black Widow who has been through more husbands than you can count, and it's not a typical thing. It's everybody. It's a ghost group. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, I can't explain it. You can do it a lot better than I.
Chime in on this one.
Yeah, let's.
Sure.
Okay, so it is a house full of a mishmash of different monsters that generally do not like each other. Only Gwen and her butler actually get along,
and we get along quite well.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's a show, darling. It's a show.
Right. That butler. Yeah. So and I like to say, if you take the Addams Family and the monsters and put them together, you got a weird child that would be us. So
sort of, we have a lot of influences. We, kind of the gothic soap opera almost, but the comedy horror, and we have a Victorian steampunk aesthetic, and we have a bunch of just really kooky characters put together. We've created this town that we live in, Ashwood, somewhere in Tennessee, and we have I do agree, if you think Addams Family, of the old creepy mansion, that's what we have going on there. And in the mansion, my character, Lady Gwendolyn, is an undead princess who does just happen to be a Black Widow. Girl has to make a living somehow. So she's the Black Widow. Her butler helps her get rid of the unwanted husbands to make their fortune. And we have a Wampus cat, Ewa.
I was actually going to ask about that because I've heard the term wampus before, but I'm not really familiar with it. Is that something you can elaborate on without giving too much away?
I'm going to give that to him.
Yeah, so you've heard of werewolves, okay? Well, a wampus cat is not necessarily in the same vein, but similar. It was a dark black cat that stood on its hind legs, and if you saw it, then you would go insane. And it started out as a nosy woman, and it was cursed by a member of the tribe. And so, yeah, this is where we get our Wampus cat. Our Wampus cat has a little more style and a lot bigger litter box than the one in the stories. But, yeah, that's Ewa House Cat.
Ewa House Cat.
Okay, see, I remember that, and I know you had the lady playing the cat up there, but I was really kind of lost on the concept of the cat because I thought we were looking at a regular house cat, like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something like that. I didn't know that it was actually a humanoid cat. So there we go.
We didn't want to stop there. We wanted to go take it a little too far.
Yeah. We joke with her about being a house cat just to hurt her feelings because we're all kind of like that on our show. But she is a more, humanoid cat-like thing. And it's just to have fun. We have different, types of characters. We have a mummy. His name is Maestro. He just grunts a lot. That's, basically what he does. But, and we have a mayor of our town, Ashwood, Scylla. She's a dragon lady. You don't want to mess with her.
Okay.
And Alistair and I are vaguely undead. That's all we say about that. We're vaguely undead characters. So, as he said, we do have a mishmash of different types of characters.
So like I said, last night was really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. You did a good job of selling what you're doing because now I'm going to go, listen to the podcast. You're probably going to see us at a live event at some point.
Perfect.
So yeah, we were looking at that, and I was going to ask, where can we find your podcast? That's tied in with what we saw last night.
Yes. We have season 1 out. It's at darkprincesstheater.com, or you can look up Dark Princess Theater on Libsyn, iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere where you can find podcasts. Basically, you can look us up, but you can get to it from the website. And all of season 1 is on there, so you can listen, get caught up, and then we're going to be doing season 2 soon.
How many episodes?
There are 5. There are 5 regular canon episodes in season 1, but then we also have some extras. We have a Halloween episode that you heard part of the story of last night, the first murder, the first victim.
Oh, that kind of backfired?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that actually came later. That was in 1886. That's the one that backfired.
Okay.
With
it's okay.
Mortimer.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up.
Everyone
a lot
died.
of people died. But my first murder as Gwendolyn was when I was the young debutante one. So yes, and that one is all laid out in story form in our special Halloween episode. And then we do something also called Tea Time with Gwendolyn, where it's just my character doing a fun little let's dish the dirt, let's talk for a minute kind of thing. So we have that in the podcast as well.
Okay, how long do those run typically?
About 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. So that you could sit down and get the good story.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually an acted out type, like I wanted to say, like we said the other day, like a radio type play program, like
Sure.
from yesteryear.
Yes, it is a lot like an old radio show with the stories. We have our characters are all original. Our storylines are original. We have writers on staff. My butler, actually, Marcus Ellsworth, is our head writer. And it's a team effort, though. He'll be the first to tell you it's a team effort because we sit around and brainstorm and have these beautiful little horror brain babies, and he takes them and finesses them into the dialogue. It's basically what happens. So he's really good at dialogue and writing those scripts, but we get together and collaborate and make it happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, like I want to reiterate, you guys did a really good job of selling that yesterday, because whenever you tell a story and I'm wanting to hear the rest of it, and you're like, well, that's in episode 2. And I'm like, touche.
Yes.
So yeah, that made me, there's a lot of stuff that happened last night that I just got little snippets of that I'm going to have to go watch or listen to the rest of it to get the full story. You have like an event coming up anytime in the next few months that you'd like to throw out there to everybody?
Well, we spend a lot of time planning our balls, and we did this once a year in February. We just had one 2 weeks ago, but we're already doing a lot of work on next year's ball. We do a different theme every year, and we just have a lot of fun with that. I mean, what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than with horror, right?
I can do that. Yeah.
You can get on board for that. So next year is going to be our 5th annual ball. We call it Gwendolyn's Bleeding Heart Ball, but we always have a different theme. Our first year, we had a wedding with a murder. Our second year, we had a New Orleans jazz funeral. We had a second line parade and all of that, so we had a lot of fun with that. Our third year, we did steampunk circus, and that was big and bright and bold and just a lot of fun. But this 2 weeks ago ball, we did a Deadly Ever After. We did dark fairy tale. So, and we always have contests. We have it catered. We have music, little skits with our characters. But this coming February in 2018, we're working on a Western steampunk horror ball. It's going to be called Gwendolyn's Bleeding Heart Ball, Gold Digger's Revenge.
Nice. Are these, do these fall in like canon with your podcast and stuff, or are these just kind of one-offs?
They're one-offs. You can come to the ball not knowing anything about our podcast, but if you have, listened to the podcast, you'll know more about our characters and, have a feel for it, but you can definitely come without having heard it as well and still have a good time.
I think it would be better to anybody. Yeah, if you're watching this, listen to the podcast.
Yes.
I'm
I'm on board for that. Yes, I agree.
Where do these take place?
Different places. The first year, actually, I had them at the Choo Choo. We've had several at the Heritage House. So we just wherever works with the theme. So
okay. And finally, I want to talk about what was really a highlight for me last night. The little ghost tour that we went into, kind of like a little mini tour of the Choo Choo last night after about an hour-long panel on the tours themselves that you do. And I have to say, I was a little creeped out. It did the job because I am a major believer in everything from Bigfoot to UFOs to ghosts. So it didn't.
That's our kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I want to talk about that and maybe throw us a little story out there of some of the creepiest stuff you've seen.
Okay. All right. I can do that.
Not anything too creepy. We don't want to give anybody a heart attack.
Right. So I shouldn't do the Get Out story then, huh?
That seriously gave me chills. Like for about an hour, I was thinking about that.
Imagine me being there when it happened. It was an unsettling thing. But yeah, I gave a talk last night on some of my experiences with the ghost tours. I've been working for Amy at the Chattanooga Ghost Tours for over 8 years now, so I have a lot of stories, a lot of things that have happened. I lead both the original tour downtown, which is a walking tour, and we go to several different places and tell the more unusual history of the places and talk about ghost sightings and see if we can get pictures and things. But then I also lead one of our hunts. Amy has a cemetery hunt with some other guides, and then I lead the downtown hunt. With both hunts, we have the equipment. You saw some of the equipment last night. I gave a little taste of that on our mini tour hunt.
Oh, and I'll be the first to say there was some stuff that happened last night that was totally unexplainable, because we had some people there who had never been a part of this, just people who had popped in as part of the con. And there were things said, names said, and things through some of the devices that you had that there was no way. And I'll be honest, I was watching to see if maybe there were some buttons pressed or somebody somewhere typing something. No, this was legit. And it's kind of creepy to see a bunch of people who have never been together before get together, and then this machine starts saying stuff to people that makes total sense to them and only them. And you're like, well, there's something here. See you later, guys. I'm gone.
I'm the first to tell you, I'm not the kind of tour guide that tries to make you believe everything's a ghost, because I don't think that's fun. That's not legitimate. I want you to know when there is actual activity happening. So I'm not going to try for the tricks or the, oh, sure, that dust is a ghost. I'm not like that. So when you're with me investigating and you see something like that, that's actually happening.
You just see the evidence and let the people make up their own minds, which 9 times out of 10, like me, I was just standing there like, myself and Amber, we were kind of hanging out, and I was like, oh man, I'm creeped out. This sucks.
Well, the machine you were mentioning, that's called the Ovilus.
Yes.
And it spits out words based on the readings around us. So it's actually taking temperature changes, EMF, EMP, all those things, and it translates those into a word in the built-in dictionary database. So, it's really pretty scientific how it's working there. But when it spits out words appropriately, that it's interesting. It was saying a lot of things about people there, and there
was a time where it was not really taking a liking to you.
It was calling me some unkind words. Yes.
Yeah. So that does happen. You get, which is weird to see, like a computer just throw that stuff out there randomly. I was like, wow, that's not very nice.
Well, this is it might sound strange to you, but there was a fellow in the crowd that is also an investigator, and he has investigated at the Choo Choo before. He was the one that caught the video of the whistling out by the train tracks, which is one of the things that's happened there and activity-wise at the Choo Choo. Anyway, he's investigated there. I've investigated there, and I think that there was a spirit there that kind of knew us both, was familiar with us both, and I don't know, I got the feeling that whatever was there. When I got close to this fellow, his name's Steven, when I got close to him, I just got this really kind of upset feeling, and it started talking more and saying things appropriate to the both of us. So it was kind of an odd moment there. Yeah.
That just really impresses me. And you've got a lot of I know a lot of people. These ghosts are mostly like Civil War era, 1800s. You do get some that are a little more recent, but most of these people are people who they had some major connection to the area. And I guess you have to think about ways that people interacted with one another back then, because one thing that I noticed last night was the ghost wasn't taking very kindly at all to like being asked what his favorite color was. I guess they're like, what kind of question is that, I guess, is what this 200-year-old ghost is thinking. And so I mean, there are certain ways, and you did mention that the way you dress may have something to do with how they react to you. And I thought that was it's amazing how stuff like that works out.
The way I look at it, I tell people you have to think about ghosts kind of like people. I mean, they have personalities, and they have different ways they want to interact. They're not all going to want to interact the same way with you. Some of them want to tell you their name, and some of them don't want you to know their name, don't want you to know anything like that. So there's going to be different ways with different spirits. And you have to also, as you were saying, you have to realize they're coming at you with their perceptions colored by the time they're from. I mean, they may say things that sound just kind of really politically incorrect to us, but it was a normal thing for them to say in the 1890s and the 1860s,
Oh, and I'm sure, I'm 33 years old, and I look at, some of the younger people out there, and, if I'm thinking, something negative about somebody who's under the age of 20, I could imagine what somebody from 1850 is thinking about even me, because, this is like 15 years difference. What I'm thinking, this was 150 years.
Yeah.
And 10 times that amount, and so they're probably looking at us on our phones and using this equipment thinking, get out of here, that kind of thing.
Well, it's like the story I told about the ghost at Southside Saloon. Were you in there for that? I
think we came in late. I got that one.
I'll tell that now if that's okay. There's one ghost at Southside Saloon over on Carter Street, Chestnut, where it goes into Carter, on Carter Street. Anyway, it used to be called the Red Lantern. We did an extended tour there at one point, and we would use the obelisk, and so we kind of got to know a lot of information about this one particular spirit there. They call him George. I call him Johnny.
I was there for that. Yeah, continue, please.
All right, and from what we've been able to gather using the obelisk and just my kind of sensitivities and things I pick up on, he was, how shall I put this, a frequent customer back in the 1890s when that was not a saloon but a brothel. And just in talking to him, I found out different things. And speaking of the way I dress, he felt comfortable with me because need I say it? Well,
can we get a reaction? No.
So he felt comfortable to talk to me, but one particular day he said he was hungry, and it's kind of funny you don't think about that. I think that sometimes spirits miss doing the things they were able to do when they were alive that they can't do anymore. And so some of our other guides have ghosts over in the cemetery when they do the cemetery hunt that ask for candy, that ask for coffee and things. But this night, this particular ghost, again, I call him Johnny, the people that work there call him George, but he asked for something to eat. He was hungry. He just kept saying he was hungry. So a lady pulled a cookie out of her purse, and it was wrapped in plastic. It was a store-bought cookie. And he said no. And we were thinking, well, we're trying to be nice here. You said you're hungry. We're trying to offer you a cookie. But he said it was store-bought. And again, thinking about how their perceptions are colored by their time period. In the 1890s, it would have been an insult for a man to receive a cookie that wasn't cooked by the hands of the woman giving it to him. They did everything from scratch back then, and here we were giving him a store-bought cookie. So he thought we were just the worst kind of hussies for trying to pull that over on him.
I love that. We're definitely going to have to. We were just talking last night. We're going to have to get a group together. We're going to have to go on a tour, and we're going to ask for Hope.
Okay, ask for Hope.
So,
Those
yeah.
guys are awesome.
This has been like a really fun weekend, especially here being neighbors with you guys. If you don't know, they're our next door neighbor. We're right over here at A3, and I think y'all are A4.
Yes.
And so it's been a really fun weekend. The panels have been fun. The experience has been fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are just fun people.
Yeah.
I
I
just
think the same as y'all.
But yeah, we're going to be doing that. And anything else you want to kind of throw out there?
Talking about the ball again for next year. I know it's a long time to plan, but some of our guests like to plan their costumes for a full year. So to throw it out there about that, we will have a costume contest, Western steampunk, and we will have a stick horse contest because why not? We think that'd be fun, and a Nerf gun mod contest. So a lot of the steampunkers will mod those Nerf guns into looking like these really elaborate Western steampunk guns, and so we'll have a contest for that too. So we support creativity. We like that. So
awesome. All right. Well, I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network here with John and Hope Holloway with Dark Princess Theater, and that's, well, you can see theater down at the bottom how you spell it. And check you guys out like on iTunes, any place you can find a podcast.
And darkprincesstheater.com.
Awesome. DarkPrincessTheater.com. Spelled like that.
And follow us on Facebook, please, because I'll be perfectly honest, we don't update our website very often, but Facebook, we have a page you can like, but from there you'll also find our group. We have a fan group where you can see the posts more because Facebook, but on the group we post everything about our events coming up, and we will be planning more things between now and next year, so check us out.
We'll have to like each other then.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you'll hear more about them from Untitled Nerd Network over the next year. We're going to have to keep in touch because you guys are awesome.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, and thanks for coming by.